course, a wonderful opportunity and a wonderful privilege to have the entire National Symphony Orchestra and the whole concert really within your control, within your shaping. And it's a fantastic showcase for the work of a composer. The whole series collectively is a fantastic showcase for the work of contemporary Irish music in the context of other works that the composers have chosen. It's a great opportunity for the audiences as well. The concerts, after all, are free. It's a great opportunity for the audience to come and find out what's happening. There's a very exciting scene, there's a very vibrant music being created, there's a great orchestra there to play it, and it's open to the public. So it's an amazing opportunity and one of the most positive aspects of contemporary music making in Ireland currently, the Horizon series, which must now be in perhaps its 10th year, approximately, I would imagine. So there's also a body of work and a continuity in the series as well. They're not just one-off concerts and not just 1 year, but there's a body of performances now that has been available to the public for an extensive period of time. Well, I suppose one of the considerations was I wanted to create a concert that had some variety within it. So I chose a flute concerto and two smallish works for orchestra. They're small in the sense of duration, but one of them certainly is not small in terms of the size of the orchestra. It uses a rather colossal orchestra, actually. So variety would have been one of the reasons. Another reason would be that I wanted to choose pieces that I suppose were from relatively recently to display the style that I've been working with. Works that I think show the orchestra, I hope, to good effect was another reason for putting them in. To create a balance, of course, is a very important part within a programme as well. I also chose works by other composers. A wonderful piece called The Sun, the Great Luminary of the Universe by the Welsh composer Alan Hoddenott, with whom I had the pleasure of studying in the late 70s and early 1980s. This piece is a memorial tribute, and I'm putting it in the concert now because Alan Hoddenott himself passed away during the last year, and it's like a tribute to himself now. And there's also a short piece by the Swedish composer Mats Larsson Goethe called Poi, which is the Italian for then, and it's a work that's inspired by, I suppose, Scandinavian folklore and folk music and landscape, and it's a wonderfully exciting and colourful piece. So overall then, I suppose, variety, balance, works that show off the orchestra and hopefully will give an enjoyable programme for the listener as well, of course, is a vitally important part of it. A Mirror into the Light is written for a relatively small orchestra. It was written in 1999 for the inaugural concert of Camerata Ireland, the orchestra established by Barry Douglas, and the first performance took place in Stormont Castle in Belfast. It's a bright, reflective piece trying to capture something of the luminous image of the title, A Mirror into the Light. It's optimistic, short work, about 6 minutes, fast opening and closing sections and a more reflective central part. The flute concerto also focuses, curiously enough, on the idea of light, which seems to be a central concern of much of my music. The words light or various colours appear in many titles. And in this piece, it's a direct attempt to, I suppose, capture musically something of the essence of Irish winter light, with its extraordinary combination of muted twilight shadows in late November on the one hand, and on the other hand, the great glittering brightness of a low sun that you can get in a clear winter's day. And it's a combination of those two ideas reflected through music that sometimes is thoughtful and I suppose reflective in quality, and at the other times through more virtuosic gestures from the flute.
And the winter light, very appropriate for this time of year.
Well, it's a very nice time of the year for the performance indeed, taking place in late January. It hopefully will capture the mood of the day as well. The piece was originally written for alto flute and guitar, William Dowdall on alto flute and John Feely, the guitarist. I always work closely with performers when I know that I'm writing for specific performers. I've worked a great deal with William Dowdall over the years, and he's made numerous recordings of my works. So I know his style of playing, the particular way that he shapes phrases, and the extraordinary versatility of his playing, and I tried to exploit all that in the work. It was a few years later that I turned this duo work into this, what is now the flute concerto. I also added another movement to it, which seemed appropriate in the orchestral context, but would not have suited the duo. So now it consists of two large-scale movements with a linking cadenza for solo flute placed between the two movements. And this is the new addition. The orchestra consists of strings, harp and percussion, and it's in a way like an amplified version of the guitar part of the original version, the duo.
And what particular challenges did you have in transferring that duo, as you said, for flute and guitar to orchestra?
Yes, of course it presents its own challenges, but it offers great opportunities as well. The guitar is a very idiosyncratic instrument. It has its own very assured techniques, which don't easily transfer. So there was quite a lot of work in manipulating the guitar material into what is now the orchestral part of the concerto. I suppose what I try to do essentially in using the harp, it's perhaps the orchestral instrument that's closest to the guitar. It's an amplified version of the guitar music. The string section, on the other hand, provide a kind of a more continuous halo of sound, I suppose, as a backdrop to that. And then I thought the percussion, which only uses marimba and glockenspiel in the first movement, would add some nice touches of colour, maybe capturing that essence of the various types of light that I spoke about. And in the final movement, the percussionist moves to bongos and congas, so it's a much more rhythmically impelled movement, and the percussive effects, I suppose, add a little bit of edge to it in the context of the orchestral version. The final work in the concert is for a very large orchestra indeed. It's called Campane in Aria, which means bells in the air. This piece was commissioned by the National Concert Hall itself on the occasion of its 25th anniversary in 2006. I wanted to write a piece that celebrated the hall and the wonderful achievement that it has been over the last 25 years. The piece itself is dedicated to the hall and everyone who has worked on it to make it such a success story. The instruction Campane in Aria, bells in the air, is occasionally written in the horn parts. It instructs the horn players to lift the bell of the instrument into the air. The bell of the horn is normally held away from the player and away from the audience, and by raising it into the air it creates a great exhilaration in the sound. And towards the end of this piece, which after all is a celebratory piece, this gesture is supposed to culminate the entire work. I'm hoping in fact that the entire brass section will maybe be standing by the end of the piece to give a good finish to the concert, and appropriately it's taking place again in the National Concert Hall, for which the piece was originally composed.